We are live, baby. What's going on, everybody? Want to just hop on here real quick, talk a little Steelers Browns before the game, do a little Q&A before this thing kicks off on Monday Night Football. Got the other game kind of on in the background. I'm gonna be paying attention to that, but talk a little Steelers football, man. It was a tough week. I feel like vibes are real low on the Twitter timeline. So that's kind of always depressing. So anytime the Steelers lose, man, this thing is a lot less fun. But you know, work's got to be done, right? So just before we get started, I'm gonna wait for a couple more people to kind of jump in here, just so I don't kind of talk about some of the same stuff over and over again. But I do want to talk about Desmond King. I saw that the inactive list just came out. King was inactive. Amari Cooper is active for the Browns. So that's pretty big for the Browns. Cooper kind of was banged up. Sorry for my alarm. Cooper was banged up this week during practice. Didn't know if he was going to be able to go, but it sounds like he's at least going to try to go. Maybe he's on a pitch count. Maybe he's not. I don't know. Obviously, no Deontay Johnson. No, Anthony McFarland. Both of those guys now on injured reserve. It's kind of I was hoping that Deontay was going to be able to avoid that, but it's really tough. Another thing, kind of weird for the Steelers. Des Fitzpatrick inactive. The Steelers right now only have 51 players on their roster. They brought up Quadre Allison, running back, and he's active tonight, but he's going to revert back to the practice squad after the game. So the Steelers technically have 2 free roster spots, which that's kind of interesting. I don't know why they didn't sign someone, especially if they knew that Johnson was going on IR. Maybe they didn't know that. Maybe, this was just one of those things that kind of happened later in the week, or maybe he's doing worse. I don't know, but definitely a bummer. So let's talk a little bit about Desmond King. So I don't know, as soon as that tweet popped up, there's several people asking me in the chat, why can't Desmond King get a helmet? Here is my theory on why Desmond King can't get a helmet. Biggest thing is the Steelers had a ton of miscommunication errors in the secondary last week. I mean, a ton. It was literally very, very. I mean, honestly, it was lucky that it wasn't worse on defense because they had so many checks for empty or bunch that they botched, and the San Francisco 49ers just didn't take advantage of it. There was only really like one of them that really hurt them. But there was probably, I would say, I think when I went through it the second time on the All-22, I think I saw 6 or 7 different busts in the secondary between the linebackers, the safeties, the corners. So my guess is that they just don't, either King isn't picking up the defense or he's not 100% on the checks and stuff like that yet, or they just don't want to add another piece to the secondary that's already got some new faces and they're already kind of struggling with communication. And this is something that we talked about in the offseason. People was talking about, what's the biggest concern? The talent in the secondary was one thing, but really something that I kept bringing up was like they've got a lot of new faces over there. They bring in a new strong safety, Keanu Neal. DeMonte KZ only played, half the season last year. You still got Minka, but Patrick Peterson's new. Shannon Sullivan played a little bit. He's new. You got 3 new inside linebackers. And those concerns really kind of played itself out against the Niners. So people ask me, why isn't King active? I would just say that they're probably trying to work out some communication stuff on the back end before they add any new pieces. There's also someone on the Steelers defense right now that I am not sure. I actually texted Nick Faribault from Steelers Now. We were texting about this early in the week. The Steelers are playing someone like almost every snap, and I'm not sure that he knows the defense very well. So that's another problematic thing. So that's something to keep an eye on tonight. If that stuff shows up again tonight, we'll talk about it in the post-game stuff. But that's my thoughts on Desmond King. I would have liked to seen him play. I think it's weird, in my opinion, that they've got King, Shannon Sullivan, and Elijah Riley all on the roster, and none of them really are playing slot corner. It's Minka Fitzpatrick. I think that's just strange to me. Last week, Minka played, I think, over a dozen snaps in the slot. They blitzed him almost a half dozen times as well. You guys saw the game plan. It sounds like Tara Austin said that it could change week to week, but for me, I just feel like Minka's better when they don't have him do, a little bit of everything and let him just kind of be him. But that's just my opinion. We'll see. We'll see what the game plan is tonight. But yeah, some thoughts on Desmond King. I appreciate you guys jumping in. Looks like we got quite a few people in here now. I'm sorry if I sound a little bit sick. I'm not sick. It's just my allergies. So I apologize if my voice sounds a little odd. But just if you guys would, just please make sure that you like the video. I appreciate it. Gino, might be premature, but if Canada's not around next year, are you worried we do another inside hire at OC? I'm not really worried about that. I don't think there's really anybody on the staff that they would do that with. Are there any college coaches you would really want as OC? I'll say the same thing, man. I don't want to get too ahead of myself talking about potential offensive coordinator candidates, whether on Twitter or on here, until they actually move on from Canada. Um, for those of y'all that didn't follow me on Twitter at the time, I was pretty much against the Canada hire initially. Didn't like the hire, has not panned out, but the Steelers are going to let this thing play all the way out. So we'll just have to see what happens. Whenever he's let go or whatever, we'll discuss candidates at that point. But until then, it's really just wasted breath, man, to be honest with you. But the only thing I'll say, man, is I think we've got a lot more offensive minds that are young, creative than we do offensive coordinator spots. So the excuse of, well, who would they get? Like, there's plenty of guys out there, man. Plenty of guys, plenty of trees to pick off of. I don't want to hear that excuse at all. So appreciate you, Isaac, Gino, my guy DB's in here. What's up? What's up? Yeah, so feel more optimistic with no Cooper. But yeah, I ain't got much hope now. I mean, Cooper's big for them, man. You know, he's kind of what he's kind of what Deontay Johnson is to the Steelers offense. You know, that man beater. Cooper's a really good route runner. Of course, he had the huge game against the Steelers last year. I think he went for over 100 yards in that Monday or Thursday night game, whatever that was. Early in the season last year, didn't do much in that last game of the season, but Watson really struggled overall. But yeah, it's significant that they got him. You know, the Browns have added some new pieces on offense. This offense looks different on tape than the one that I saw last year preparing for the finale. They're doing some different stuff. It seems like they're really leaning into you know, being smart about it, doing everything they can to make this offense kind of blend together with Watson, what Stefanski wants to do, what Nick Chubb does really well, all that stuff. So they're getting pretty creative. Got Elijah Moore. They're moving him around, putting him in the backfield. They ran a nice trick play with, you know, him taking a direct snap last week. But they got some other pieces too. Like I like Cedric Tillman. If you guys were around for the draft stuff, I talked about Tillman a ton last year. I think he's going to be a really good player. Peoples Jones is a quality player too. So they've got some good pieces on offense, man. This Browns team is really talented. Same thing I said before the season started. On paper, this Browns roster is really, really good. Really good. It's all just going to depend on if the quarterback's good, man. You can't pay a quarterback that much money. And really, just in the NFL right now, it's just really freaking hard to be any good or worth anything without, you know, good quarterback play. And Watson was not good last year. He wasn't really that good last week. He missed some throws, made some plays as well. But I'm going to say that, you know, the weather probably affected that just a little bit. So I hope the Steelers D shows up. How about them Colorado Buffs? Man, Colorado is crazy, right? Like I feel like that's like the biggest storyline of college football this year so far. Pretty crazy. What y'all think about that hit on Travis Hunter? Did y'all see that? Did y'all think that was dirty? I thought it was dirty. That's just my opinion, though. But also for the 28 people already in here, like I don't know if y'all saw the tweet, but I am gonna be doing a little giveaway. It's nothing crazy, but I'm gonna give away something before I hop off here and eat some food before the game kicks off. So if y'all want a chance at some free stuff, I'm gonna give away something for free at the end of the stream. So just, you know, there you go. Let Minka be Minka. Yeah, man. I mean, I don't understand, man. I think that Minka can be a slot corner. I just don't really understand like the need. I don't get why you construct this roster this way with three other slot corners on the roster. One of them who can't even get a helmet, but you want to play your free safety down there. I don't know. That's not what I would do, but I'm not defensive coordinator. Much love. Thanks for the vids. I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Yeah, y'all been showing a lot of love on the videos, especially in the comment section. That's greatly appreciated. I know y'all probably get tired of hearing, you know, the same stuff at the beginning of the videos, not just on my videos, but everybody on YouTube, you know, like the video, comment, sub, all that stuff. But that's what you got to do, man. The algorithm is crazy. and that just plays a big part in it. So, thoughts on the Browns linebacker corps? I could tell you from talking to some Browns people, some film folks on the Twitter sphere, they are a little bit worried about the Browns and coverage against Freiermuth. So I think that's potentially a area that the Steelers could maybe exploit. Um, but I thought the Browns linebackers played solid last week. Mixon had some decent runs, but I think JOK is a really good player. But he's a guy that you got to kind of keep free too. But Cleveland, they invested a lot in their front over the course of the offseason, not just bringing in Zadarius Smith, which was really big for them last week. I think he had 6 pressures. But they signed Dalvin Tomlinson, they got some different stuff, but they're not going to be, the Cleveland defense I think that we've seen in recent seasons that's just underperforming week in and week out, or they just have these glaring obvious weaknesses. I still think that Cleveland's real strength is, playing the pass. I think they've obviously got some pass rushers, not just Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith. They've got some other guys as well, but really that secondary, Mike Tomlin talked about it this week about, I see another comment right here about the Cleveland secondary. Yeah. Tomlin talked about the secondary itself won the game for them against the Bengals. And I really thought that it took a lot of balls and guts for them to do what they did last week. They had their corners playing press coverage against, the Cincinnati Bengal receivers. And we know how talented those guys are. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. And they pretty much just lined up and man-to-man press coverage, and they won the battle. So I think you got to give credit to those guys with that. But we're going to see how this Steelers receiver corps does, man. We need some big games out of George Pickens, Calvin Austin. Those young guys going to have to step up. This is a big, big test for them, for Kenny Pickett. Pickett looking for a big bounce back week after struggling mightily against the Niners. So it's tough. If a jet sweep happens in the first 2 plays, you got to give me 50 push-ups. Man, I don't know if that's a fair bet. I don't. What do I get if we don't? I don't. I don't know if I want to do 50 push-ups. But yeah, I mean the jet sweep they had last week, Freiermuth botched the block on the edge, but I still don't think it was really going anywhere. It seemed like they wanted to get Calvin the football though early, so I'm curious on what the game plan is this week for him, how many design touches he has, all that stuff. So, how do you think the Steelers inside linebackers did last week individually? Atlanta seemed to stand out. Roberts made a couple plays downhill. I thought Holcomb was pretty rough on tape, but I really thought that he was rough in the preseason too, to be honest with you. I thought that Quan was not noticeably good or bad, to be honest with you. But I thought Holcomb really struggled. So, but like I said, I think I pointed that out a couple times in the preseason, and it seems like I don't know. I was maybe the only one in that boat as far as how he's been. I've been a little bit underwhelmed, but honestly, I was kind of surprised. Like I've said a couple times on the channel, I was surprised that they gave him the deal that they did, to be honest with you. Pickett has to make all the throws or we won't run well. Defense stay on the field, generating more injuries. I mean, yeah, and there's no secret sauce about it. Pickett has to be better, not just this week, but moving forward. I mean, this is year 2. We need to see significant improvement. Development and improvements not always linear, so he's not going to get better every single time he's on the field, right? So I think that needs to be noted. Week 1 is just 1 week. As frustrating as it was and as bad as I thought the tape was, it's just 1 week. So I'm trying to keep that into context. This is a big game for him tonight. Another home game, primetime, division opponent. These are the games where, like, you really set yourself apart. So looking forward to seeing how he bounces back. Everyone, I just talked about this on the Steelers Afternoon Drive on the Steelers Now channel, but everyone who's ever been around Kenny has always said that he's a real thick-skinned guy who has the capability of bouncing back when he struggles. So I'm anticipating, a better performance tonight. So Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, yeah, I think Dalvin Tomlinson's a really good player. I think that what they paid him may have been a little bit high, but I think if you look at the Browns' struggles last year, particularly defending the run up the middle, I think that probably deal makes a little more sense for them than maybe any other team. How much better does Schwartz make them? What can we expect from them tonight? More blitzing? If I had to guess on how they're gonna play it, you're gonna probably see a lot of press man on the outside, and I think you're going to see some blitzing. They didn't do too much crazy stuff. I will say that one thing I noticed that they did to Burrow as the game went on. Schwartz has always been this guy who prioritizes the pass rush, but I feel like in recent stops, in his last time as a defensive coordinator, one of the main complaints is that he was kind of static on defense and a little predictable. They were they kind of did just roll the ball out and beat Cincinnati one-on-one last week, but also they threw in some interesting stuff as the game kind of went on. Some pre-snap, post-snap rotations that kind of confused Joe Burrow. So I'm interested to see if they do that for Kenny, especially because Kenny's a young quarterback. But the Niners I think I touched on this on the channel and on Twitter, but the Niners didn't disguise a single thing that they were doing last week. They just rolled the ball out, and the Steelers had no answers. They played the same coverages. They played quarters, and they played cover three. That's it. That's all they did. And a couple snaps of man-to-man, but the Steelers just could not move the ball. So really starts with them. They got to execute better. But Schwartz makes them better, yeah, for sure. I think some of the stuff, I wrote about this on SteelersNow.com, but some of the stuff that they're doing up front with Myles Garrett, putting him in the A-gap, giving him some two-way goes, I think that's going to really make him more effective. I think it makes it more difficult for them to game plan for him because, when they played Garrett in the past, they pretty much just double-teamed him all game, put a tight end over there, put a chipper over there, leave it back to that side. But it's a little more difficult when you get those guys inside, especially when you bring five guys because then you get offensive teams in those 5-0 protections. You get one-on-ones, basically man-on-man blocking. And, those situations are going to be what Cleveland kind of is going for. So Thornhill's back at safety. Yeah, Thornhill's a fine player. I thought Delpit probably had the best game that I've ever seen him have for the Browns. I really liked Delpit in college. I know he had some injuries earlier in his career. I've always seen Browns fans not be a big fan of him at all. But I thought Delpit was fantastic. He played a slot fade against T. Higgins last week. One-on-one, they went with a little smash fade down the sideline. He was in perfect position. I mean, every NFL team is scared to death to get a safety on T. Higgins in that spot. And Delpit not only hung in there, but he knocked the pass away. Excellent rep. I thought he was great. Can we run the ball tonight? I said this too, but to me, the team that's going to win tonight is the team that can stay out of second and third and longs. It's that simple. If the Steelers can't stay out of second and third and longs, they're going to have a really tough time. Not just because of what Cleveland can do when they let their edge rushers, pin their ears back, Myles Garrett, Zadarius Smith. But if you let those guys, get into third and long and then, you're trying to beat Denzel Ward and Greg Newsome and Martin Emerson and those guys one-on-one downfield on 3rd and 10, it's the Steelers don't have the personnel to do that, not without Deontay Johnson. And that's nothing against George Pickens or Calvin Austin. I think those guys, I'm hoping for big games for them, but that's not a matchup that the Steelers needs to get in. So I know a lot of people were saying, upset that they didn't run the ball better or more against the Niners. But, when you start out the game 0 for 5 on third downs, you're just not going to be able to stay on the field. They, like Tomlin said, they just didn't have enough downs. And, when you get down 17-0 in the second quarter or whatever, it makes you one-dimensional. So you absolutely have to stay ahead of the chains. You got to make sure that you are, at least staying somewhat balanced, not necessarily saying you got to have a perfect pass or run ratio, but you need to be able to do both. Whereas it turns out last week, they couldn't really do either one, which was disappointing. So, got a lot of people in here. I appreciate you guys tapping in with me. Just some kind of housekeeping notes. I'm going to go for probably another 25-ish minutes, maybe, if there's enough activity in the chat and stuff like that. But just, again, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel, all that stuff's appreciated. I'm also going to do a little giveaway at the end of the stream. Nothing too crazy, nothing too big, but I'm going to do a little giveaway for you guys. So do that. So excited to see what Pickens got as the main guy tonight. Yeah, this is a huge opportunity for him tonight. Absolutely huge. I think a lot of people on Twitter have kind of clamored for a bigger role for him. Pickens, expanded route tree. Can he get more targets? What does sophomore year look like? last week they really didn't run a ton that I saw kind of for him. He only got one of those deep targets that we're used to seeing, and that was on a play that Kenny thought was a free play. So I would like to see them take some shots with him tonight. If Cleveland wants to live in that single high middle field closed world and press in their corners, Kenny's going to have to hit a go ball or two. He's just going to have to. And I think Pickens has as good a shot to catch one of those as anybody. We saw him. That was against the Browns last year that he had that crazy catch on Emerson from Mitch down the right sideline. But yeah, excited to see what Georgia looks like tonight. Excited to see Benton. No Hayward. Think Benton plays a significant amount of snaps. He better. He better. I think Benton's already better than some of the guys that are playing kind of similar snaps. So I would personally like to see more Bentons, particularly in sub packages. I know they said that they're still going to leave him at nose tackle, even with the injury to Hayward, but I absolutely would 100% prefer them play him more at 3 tech if they could. If that's a way to get him, 60-70% of the snaps, I would do that in a heartbeat. But yeah, I thought Benton was one of the guys that I didn't have in my winners column for the site after the game concluded last week, but I really wish I would have. I just didn't pay enough attention to him during the game. But I thought, like, when I really started to comb through the tape, I thought that Benton had some pretty promising reps, and I think he's been as advertised really throughout the course of the summer. Bengals underperformed this week too. Does this influence your evaluation on the Browns any? No, not really. But I do think the Bengals have some concerns going, mainly with their quarterback. I don't think Burrow looks 100% right or healthy. But, like I said, the main thing that I took away from that performance last week for the Browns was the ways that they were using Myles Garrett up front, the different ways that they were getting him free, and then also what they were willing to do in the back end. Regardless of what the Bengals have looked like, how they've performed, this, that, and the other, Jamar Chase is still Jamar Chase. T. Higgins is still T. Higgins. And those guys in the Browns secondary, they manned up one-on-one and they won those matchups. And I think that that's something that we have rarely seen with this version of the Bengals. We very rarely see them get man coverage. And if they do get man coverage, we've very, very rarely seen Burrow not be able to take advantage of that. And, I think a lot of the credit really needs to go to the Browns more as, compared to what the Bengals didn't do, I guess you could say. Yeah, feel free to drop anything in the chat. I'll answer any questions, talk about anything that y'all want to talk about. A little less than an hour away from game time. Win or lose, do you think if Canada's play calling is once again inefficient? I don't see them firing Canada, man. I know that you guys want it. It doesn't matter what I want. I just don't see him firing him. I think he's going to at least get the rest of the season. I don't know. And I know that it's not the answer that you guys want, but last year, there was a point in the season about midway through. When was the Dolphins game? What week was that? Was that like week 8 or something, or week 6 or 7 or something? Anyways, there was a point where Canada himself thought that I think he was going to be gone. So he was actually worried that he was going to lose his job, and then he didn't. So down the stretch last year, they made some suggestions that weren't suggestions on how the offense should be ran, getting more run heavy, doing some different things. But, we'll see. Who's going to call plays? Sullivan has experience calling plays. But, I just don't think that that's something that Tomlin's going to do, unfortunately. So, great show. Appreciate you, Joe, tapping in with me, man. Can we see Joey Porter Jr. on the field for more than 7 snaps tonight? I really don't think that's going to be the case until Levi Wallace or Patrick Peterson play themselves out of a spot. It doesn't sound like that's going to be the case. Which is, you can have your opinions on that. I think that some of Peterson's struggles last week were definitely a little bit frustrating, but I think some of it's fixable. Levi Wallace kind of is what he is. Porter definitely gives you a higher ceiling. He probably also gives you a lower floor. I'll never, second guess the decision to get young players playing time, though. if it comes down to that. But I think they asked either was Tomlin or Austin this week was like, hey, can we get him more snaps? And they pretty much said this is where he's at. He's the third, fourth corner on the roster, and this is how he's going to play. Tomlin also made a weird comment. I thought he said that they wanted to play Porter more, but the packages in which he was playing in, game script didn't allow them to get to those packages enough. But the Steelers played 7 snaps a dime, all of which Porter played in, but that was the most in the NFL last week. So how much more dime were they planning on playing? That's kind of my question. Like, you're only going to play those dime packages when you're in third and longs. How many third and longs are you planning on getting to over the course of a game? I don't know. Just a weird comment, I thought, but such is life. The good thing about Steelers playing in prime time is I get to watch some NFL offenses instead of whatever Canada calls. Yeah, that was nice. It's always nice on Sundays. I hate having to wait that extra day to play, but it is always nice on Sundays not to have to worry about the stress of the Steelers, especially for me now that I'm doing the content creation stuff, because especially primetime's kind of rough. What do you guys? Let me know what y'all think. Do y'all like primetime games still? I'll just tell you my personal opinion on them. As a kid, man, when I was 5, 6 years old or 8, 9 years old, dude, I loved primetime games. They were the best things ever. Like I loved them. Watching them with my pops in the basement, watching primetime it was nothing like it. And then as I kind of got older and I started going to games, with my fiance, now my wife, those are really cool to go to. But dude, like watching primetime games at home now, I'm just like, and I work their shift, so it's not a timing thing. But for me, it's like, dude, the Steelers have been in primetime so freaking much. Like, there's been years where they've played like 5 primetime games, and I feel like it's lost its luster or excitement. You know what I'm saying? Do y'all feel what I'm saying, or do y'all still like primetime games? Some of y'all are saying I still love primetime games. Okay. I mean, I could be wrong on that. We'll see. But I mean, it's just a matter of opinion. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't get it nearly as excited about them as I used to. Maybe it's also because the Steelers haven't been like incredibly good in recent seasons. You know, maybe if they were, Super Bowl contenders, I might feel different. But fired or not, we're still running the playbook. Yeah, I mean, this is kind of also why I said to do this before the season started. I think one of the things, and this is just my opinion, I could end up looking like an idiot saying this, but I think the big argument for those in the Steelers organization and on the social media sphere was that they wanted to bring Canada back to keep the continuity between him and Pickett. But I don't think Pickett would have been massively affected if they'd have moved on. And then part of it, I think, is tough now because, and I don't, again, this has been one game that Kenny struggled this year. So I don't want to just completely write him off, even though I am a little bit concerned about some things I'm seeing. If he does say he struggles this year, then you're going to have to wonder, like, okay, well, he's going into year 3. We got to get him a new coordinator. Then he's going to be learning a new offense. So it's like, then you still don't know really what you have in him. And I think that that's a problem. I would have rather just kind of ripped that Band-Aid off this year. That's just my opinion, though. So I like them when they aren't the Steelers. It's nice to have something to watch. Oh, yeah. No. Yeah, 100%. I like the primetime games for sure, especially on Sundays or whatever. I like being able to watch them. I just don't really love the Steelers being in them. I don't like waiting all day. This is kind of cool. This is one of the reasons I wanted to do the Q&As, just to make time go by fast. So I was glad to get on here and talk a little football with y'all, but I don't know. Yeah, it's still cool. I don't know. It's lost a little bit of its luster for me. Y'all don't like Collinsworth as a commentator either? I don't know, man. I go back and forth if I like him or not. He can be a little annoying though. He can be a little annoying for sure. Just not on week 2, week 3. Yeah. This is a tough one too, because like I feel like you would have been okay with the Monday Night Football game if the Niners game would have went differently. But the Niners game was such a stinker, man. Like the home opener, first home opener that they've had in week 1 since 2014. They come out and they just get obliterated really from the jump. I mean, they look terrible. There wasn't really a lot of positives to come. So I don't know, that's tough. And then you got to wait a whole extra day to get kind of something else to watch or to pick your spirits up. That's what kind of worries me about tonight is My Twitter timeline did not take the loss very well on Sunday at all, and I'm afraid if they look bad again tonight, I think some people are gonna like lose it. So it's tough. So many long commercial breaks. It's easier to watch multiple games. Yeah, yeah. What do y'all think about YouTube TV, the Sunday Ticket? How many of you guys bought that? Did y'all like it? Dude, I think the multi-stream is awesome. I think the multi-stream is like fantastic. The only thing was on my screens, I wasn't getting very good resolution on my multi-screen, like the how you can put 4 games on once at the time at one time. I wasn't getting good resolution on those, but I thought the YouTube TV setup is really good. I definitely prefer it to what Sunday Ticket had, so I was glad that they made the switch. My guy Matt said I'm getting too old for Mondays now. I hear you. I hear you. A lot of you guys are having different opinions. Some of y'all are saying y'all like it. Some of y'all are saying y'all don't. I think we can all agree Thursday Night Football is bad. I think the product itself is bad. Yeah. Yeah, the hour leading up to game time goes so slow. Well, I think it's because I mean I'm not even like one of those people that really like gets up early and like has to watch Sunday Countdown or anything like that. But it's kind of tough, right? You go in there and there's not really like stuff to watch before the game. You're just kind of waiting all day. For those of you that work during the day, I'm sure it's like one of those things that you get something to look forward to. But when your team's down, Collinsworth is so infuriating. Yeah, I feel that. Ben better show up. Yeah, stopping Nick Chubb, man. It's absolutely number one priority. Tomlin talked about it. They got to have a better success rate stopping Chubb than they did stopping McCaffrey. So I'm not as mad about the Niners loss. Yeah, I don't know about best team in the league. Y'all seen Dallas? Man, Dallas is like a wagon. I don't know. That defense is crazy over in Dallas, man. Absolutely crazy. I think the Niners are really freaking good, though. Like, definitely. I mean, if they're the favorite in the NFC, I don't fault anybody for believing that. Their roster's crazy. But yeah, I think it does also show like a little bit about, the Steelers got a little ways to go. Even if you were optimistic, I think I picked the Steelers to go 10-7 and compete for a wild card spot. But even if you were optimistic about the Steelers heading into this season, they're still pretty far away from being like in that contender sphere, in my opinion. I'll be watching him a bit more to see if Sam Howell's development is room because they give him a better OC. Yeah, yeah. Looks like Sam Howell's doing okay. Had 2 awesome touchdowns yesterday. I got the student discount. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have paid that much. Man, I think it's worth it. I really do. I think it's worth it. I know Sunday Ticket's like one of those things where it's like it is super expensive, and I totally get it. And everybody's finances are different, but I could never imagine not having it. I'd probably like sell my freaking foot or something like that in order to get it. I love it. But this is also like my only hobby, so I spend a lot of time and money on it. But yeah, I don't get the 2 games being on at the same time though. Y'all gonna have to break that down to me. I don't get it at all. I think having 2 games on at the same time is stupid. But yeah, the playoffs for Dallas is definitely gonna be the time that they gotta prove it, man. I'm a little bit hesitant to believe in a McCarthy Prescott duo come playoff time. But dude, that defense, oh my goodness. Micah Parsons looks crazy. Looks absolutely crazy. Anyone missing Terrell Edmonds? Edmonds is fine. He's a fine player, man. I don't know if missing yet is that might be a little bit of overreaction, but I would have liked to have had Terrell back though. I said that. I don't necessarily disagree with that. Big Ben just picked the Browns to win. Did he really? Is he doing like a pregame show or is this his weekly thing? I'm curious on that. But yeah, I don't know. Picking the Browns to win, man. What was his reasoning? Did he give one? I'm just curious. I'm missing Sutton. That's the guy who they should have signed. I still cannot believe that they let him get out the door, man. Because all this stuff about playing Minka in the slot and doing all this different stuff is, um, it's out the window. They don't have to do that if Sutton's still here. The only thing that the kind of sequence of things that I didn't like from Omar Khan this offseason that I really disagreed with from the jump was them letting Sutton go and then paying Ogunjobi similar money and then paying Patrick Peterson more money to come over. It just did not feel like it didn't feel like a good exchange there. I would have much rather have kept Sutton, found some way to supplement another defensive lineman. Uh, just because and Ogunjobi I thought had some nice plays against the 49ers. But I mean, he's playing on one foot. He's limping through the locker room already. We're in week 2. I mean, you know, I don't know. It's tough, especially to give him a 3-year deal. I think he's a fine player, but that's not something I would have done personally. I'd have kept Cam Sutton. But Sunday tickets $450 MLB TV. I got mine for $350 or $400, I think, because I paid early. But yeah, I guess it is MLB TV and like the NBA League Pass. Is the difference just because there's so many games? Like it feels weird that you get however many freaking baseball games. I don't know. I don't watch baseball, but there's like 1,000 baseball games for $100, and there's 16 football games or 17 football games. You get $450. That doesn't seem right to me. The Sutton one was a head scratcher. Yeah, I'm glad y'all agree with me on that because I'm still a little bit flabbergasted that they let. And like I said, I don't think Cam Sutton is, I don't think he's like a top 15, top 20 corner in the league. I like Cam Sutton as like a high end or, a CB2 or something like that on a good defense. But I think his versatility was really nice for the Steelers. It was something that they've leaned on in years past. It was something that they really could have leaned on this year. And yeah, when guys hit free agency and you let them hit the open market, like they let Sutton hit the open market instead of extending him early, yeah, sometimes they do get paid a little extra money. I think they were a little bit surprised at the type of money that Detroit was willing to give him, and maybe he just priced himself out. But like I said, if it was me, I would have absolutely, prioritized him. Personal reasons? Huh? I hadn't heard that. Where did he say that? If you have a link, drop it in the chat. I would like to read it. But I really like Cam. Cam's an awesome dude too. So, let's see. I don't really get why we're using it, emphasizing Sutton and Riley so much just for them not really play week 1. They said it's going to be game plan specific, man. But yeah, Logan, I already talked about that a little bit at the early point in the chat. But it's just weird to me that they got all these slot corners on the roster. You got Shannon Sullivan, Elijah Riley, and now Desmond King. And between the 3 of them, they played 7 snaps on defense last week. And then King's inactive again tonight. Have you touched on King being inactive? Nice segue from Sutton. Yeah, I already touched on this. I'll just say again, just to kind of reiterate this one, but I think that King's inactive because they had so many miscommunication errors last week against the Niners. I mean, the film was awful in the back 7. It was bad. They probably had, I think when I counted, it was like 6 to 8 communication busts on empty checks, bunch checks, 3x1 checks. I mean, it was completely ugly. The back 7 did not play very well. I mean, nobody on the defense played very well, but so that's maybe they just don't want to add another new piece to that. You got all those new pieces in the secondary: Patrick Peterson, Shannon Sullivan, and Keanu Neal. You got 3 new linebackers. I mentioned earlier that I think that there's somebody they're having to play like almost every snap that doesn't really know the defense right now, and that's kind of frustrating as well. So my only guess is that they just don't want to put another person in that doesn't really 100% have the defense or the checks down. So I don't know. It's definitely odd though. I'm hoping that this Minkah Fitzpatrick slot corner thing goes away though pretty soon. I wish they played Peasy more. Yeah, Ayuk was cooking Levi Wallace last week. But we knew that was going to happen against some of these better route runners. The Steelers, they don't have the speed on the outside. Man coverage is going to be a little bit of adventure. And that's why it's tough too, because They brought in some zone heavy corners, Patrick Peterson, Shannon Sullivan, even Desmond King. Like these guys are from zone heavy schemes. They brought them over here. And, the Steelers still want to play man to man on third downs. And you got to have the bodies to do that. I mean, if you want to live in that world, especially on third down, you got to have the dudes. It's going to take a month to get down pat. I don't know, man. I'm hoping that it doesn't last that long. Speaking on corners, how about reunite Porter and Kalen King? I've been dying to get into some cornerback film, man. I've been watching a couple guys. There's a corner from Iowa. I don't know if y'all seen him. He kind of nice. I've been looking at him a little bit. I watched one of his games the other day. I haven't had as much time to do draft stuff this year just because of all the stuff I'm doing with Steelers now and trying to keep up with the content on here and all that stuff. It's been just really tough, the film, everything. So a little behind on my draft stuff than usual. But I know Kalen King, I saw him a bunch when I was scouting Porter last year for the draft. He's a good little player. How's he been so far this year? If you've seen him, Zach? Let me see here. Jason. Enough of this negativity. Let's talk O-line and that negativity. How you feeling about Broderick on the right? I mean, Chooks is gonna play, so that's another one that I just don't really quite understand. Broderick hasn't played a lot of right tackle in his life. He played sparingly in college. They gave him, from what I understand, in talking with Nick and Allen and those guys that were at practice every day this summer, they gave him 0 snaps at right tackle all off season, and then all of a sudden Chooks goes down and they're talking about putting him over there. I don't know. Weird decision. What will everyone do if Canada calls a jet sweep? It's gonna happen, y'all. It's gonna happen. I would really like it if they didn't have to replace Chooks in the draft. I would really like it if Dan Moore took a step forward, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Focus on middle linebacker. I'm just not a fan of drafting middle linebackers high anymore. I don't know. Maybe that's just PTSD from Devin Bush, man. But I just don't. Unless you're like a Fred Warner type, I would just rather go the Steelers route of what they're doing right now. Just kind of mix and match guys with different play styles, different strengths, weaknesses, and just try to get after it from there. But I will say this, like, if I'm team linebackers don't matter that much, but after watching Fred Warner last week and what he did to the Steelers, I have to reconsider that a little bit. I mean, he is special. I mean, he makes that Niners defense. He's absolutely incredible. So, yeah, first start against Myles Garrett, that'll be fine. Yeah, thank God we don't have to do that. I know Chooks has his limitations as a player, but I'm definitely glad that, Broderick's not starting tonight because, I can only take so much panic from the fan base that if he was to start tonight, he probably wouldn't do very well. And then people would be going crazy on social media talking about, he's a bust, because he gave up a sack to one of the best rushers in the league. So, all right. We got about 5 minutes. I'll try to stay on here, answer any more questions y'all have, and then we'll do the giveaway after that. So, who y'all think leads the Steelers in receiving yards tonight? I'm just curious on what y'all think. Darnell Washington catches tonight over 1.5. I don't know, man. I'll say under, but we'll see. A lot of people saying Calvin, Muth, Austin. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to seeing how Calvin does against these corners. I think this could be this is going to be a very telling game on where he's at in his development. If he comes out and plays really well, man, that's going to spark a lot of interesting conversation. Not just Devin, a lot of First round inside linebackers. Yeah, to be honest with you, I've said this. I don't think this. We talk about or we joke around about all the time, like how the NFL doesn't know how to scout quarterbacks. I don't think the NFL knows how to scout linebackers either. And not saying I do because I haven't been great at that position either. But yeah, inside linebackers in round one have not done very well at all. Yeah, Shaq Leonard, Warner being taken after that. That 2018 draft class set this team back a little bit because you got to think like first round, end of the first round, you get Terrell Edmonds. Edmonds was a baseline starting safety, which is generally fine. I don't think Edmonds is a bust because he started for a long time. He was adequate at what they asked him to do, but he wasn't like a significant or impact player. And then if you look at what they got after that, James Washington, he's not on a roster, I don't think, right now. Things never really panned out for him aside from like brief flashes in that 2019 season. Mason Rudolph is a third string quarterback. They drafted him in the third round. Getting a core four in the third round, you get baseline starting tackle play is solid. I still don't know about the decision to pay a core for what they paid him. But yeah, that was not one of Colbert's better classes. I'll just say that. Should be GP, but bet it's A-Rob. Yeah. Pat, unless Pickens gets 2 chunk plays. A lot of people saying Allen Robinson. So let me ask y'all this. Did y'all think Allen Robinson played like really well last week? I saw a lot of people like this is more so the fantasy community because I think a lot of people saw that he led the Steelers in receiving yards without realizing that like 30 of it came on that last or second to last drive in garbage time when Pickett did that little rollout and found him. I still think Robinson's a nice piece. But he is very much a slot only receiver right now. Like he has definitely lost a step. And he was never really like obviously a blazer to begin with, but he's a good piece to have. He's really good against zone coverage. Obviously he's always had great hands, but one thing I will be upset about is if I hope they don't play Robinson a ton outside. I understand if they want to get Calvin inside a little bit or move their pieces around between those 3 receivers, but Robinson needs to be the primary guy in the slot with this lineup of Calvin, George, and Allen. He needs to be in the slot. So hopefully that does not change. But so it's saying you'll die. Taking 3 shots for every jet sweep. I'm assuming you don't have work tomorrow, Jonah, because there ain't no way you're willingly doing that. Loudermilk leading the DB room pass deflections. Hey, Pat P had 2. Wasn't great, but he did some decent things. I don't think the tape was as bad as I thought it was live. Yeah, it's saying I don't think he got much separation. Like that's the thing with Robinson, especially like right now. Like there's some limitations there physically. But he's okay. I think he's a solid like wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4. And I think that he can do some good things for a young quarterback, especially, find soft spots and zones, things like that. But I just want to make sure that we're not, this isn't one of those things where it's like Deontay Johnson goes out and you're like, oh yeah, we still have Allen Robinson. Like this is not 2017 Allen Robinson, unfortunately. If it was, that'd be great. It'd be a lot easier to supplement the loss of Deontay, but that's just not the case, unfortunately. If Pat P doesn't slip in the paint, he covered it well. He gave up too much ground in the end zone, though. That was my only thing. Just kept giving ground. Needs to settle his feet at the goal line. Talked about that in the video. Also, I think he's, Neal should have been able to pick up that crosser. And then, I thought KZ should have played back on that double post concept. But such is life. Don't be surprised if the jet sweeps work. Gunner's very good at blocking those. No promises. I don't know, man. I feel it's just depressing to me when we talk about freaking jet sweeps being like the most important or exciting part of an offense. It's depressing. Pretty well. I mean, it was shaky, but I thought that the ways in which he lost, I thought were mostly fixable. I'll just say that. But all right, so 7:50. I think the game's kicking off here in about 15, 20 minutes. Um, First off, please just do me a favor real quick. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. All that stuff is greatly appreciated on my end. I know y'all get tired of hearing it, but I gotta do it, unfortunately. But Um, let's do a little giveaway. So, for those of you that don't know, I'm sure that all of you guys should by now. If you follow me on Twitter or whatever, all my written work is at SteelersNow.com for this upcoming season. Really excited about that. We got me, Alan Saunders, Nick Faribault, a bunch of other good people putting out, I think, what's the best content, Steelers content that you can get. There is, if you've noticed, some of my stuff now, the film room stuff. Is behind a paywall, and that's because they're coming out with this subscription where it's Steelers pins, Pirates, all these different writers and stuff putting all this crazy good content up. And the subscriptions, they're $5 a month, they're $40 for the year. But I'm gonna give away a subscription at least for a month. And the way we'll do it is I'm gonna ask y'all a question in the chat. First person who answers it is gonna be the winner. And then you'll just have to DM me on Twitter to redeem it. All right. So does that make sense to everybody? I want to make sure that all of you guys that want to, continue to support my work, continue to read my work, watch my videos and everything, all of y'all have the opportunity to. So I'm going to try to give away some subscriptions for you guys to try out the site, not just for me, but also like, all the other content that's on there. A lot better writers on there than I am. So I'm excited about that. But all right, let's go with it. So we got 57 people in here. So we'll do first come, first serve. So obviously I grew up a Steelers fan. First person to name my favorite player growing up gets a subscription. So go. Let's see. It's probably not going to be the most obvious answer, I feel like, to people that haven't followed me on Twitter for a long time. Oh, damn. A lot of people got it. It is Ike Taylor. And Gino is the winner because he's got it first. I'm really happy with that you guys got that really quick. I'm proud. Zach, I knew that you would be in here. I figured that you would probably get that one because you've been around a while. But who's y'all's favorite player of all time, man? I gotta know. Mine's Ike, dude. And I'll just tell you a brief story just before we get off here. Um, I had the chance to meet Ike a couple different times. Not just as a kid, but as an adult. Um, Talked with him several times. He's like one of the nicest dudes you'll ever meet. I've always enjoyed my conversations with him. Um, just an awesome dude. So Ike's my guy, man. It's always nice too, like whenever you get, you like players growing up, you get the chance to meet them, and they're not complete a holes or anything like that. Ike's a really good dude. So, but yeah, Gino, hit me up on Twitter if you got a Twitter page. Send me a DM, and I'll get you hooked up with the subscription. For those of you guys that want to get a sub to the Steelers Now subscription, always, man, it's like I said, it's $5 for the month. Or you can buy a whole year subscription. It's like $40. It's definitely something that I recommend, not just because my stuff's on there, but like there's tons of other stuff like Alan Saunders, Nick Faribault, guys that you guys follow on Twitter already. We're putting all kinds of good content out. And if you like the Pirates and the Pins, like Dave Molinari's on there, like there's all kinds of stuff to where like you can get whatever it is Pittsburgh related that you want on there for a really low price. And we also got a promo code for 10% off. The promo code is Derrick10, capital DERRICK 10 is the promo code. So if you guys want to just go ahead and y'all want to try it out for a month, go ahead and do that. Make sure you use my promo code, give you 10% off. And I'll give away some other subscriptions too, but I definitely, if you guys are interested in that stuff, y'all like the videos and stuff on the channel, I'm going to still try to hammer as much stuff out as I can, but I'm also doing at least one, maybe two written film rooms for the site. And those are what I think is good content as well. So if you guys like this type of stuff, definitely consider, getting a subscription. But again, that's up to you guys. But see a lot of Troy, a lot of Ben, Rod Woodson, great pregame. I appreciate you guys hopping on with me, talking some ball. Like I said, I apologize that my allergies are bugging out, but yeah, it was definitely fun. I appreciate everybody tapping in with me. Um, I'll have an instant reaction up after the game's over, just giving my thoughts. I'll also be doing a winners and losers column for the site, so y'all can check both of those out. And then hopefully I get the film tomorrow, hopefully around noon or something like that. I might be able to crank out a video Tuesday night, probably Wednesday though, more than likely. Probably Wednesday for the film room. Got a short week too, so it's going to be a little bit challenging turning around content before, week 3. Another primetime week, another primetime game next week against Vegas, right? Gosh, man, that's just disappointing. If y'all want to do another pregame stream before the Vegas game next week, drop me a like, drop me a comment, and we'll see. We might do another one of these if y'all want. Hopefully everybody's in a better mood and they win tonight and we can, kind of put this loss behind us against the Niners and positive vibes only. But again, I appreciate you guys tapping in with me. I'll check y'all next time. Peace.